Accused triple murderer Erin Patterson has returned to the stand as a packed courtroom watched on, confessing to the jury her fake cancer diagnosis and her fascination with wild mushrooms.
Desperate to hear from the accused killer, a queue of eager onlookers today flooded the courtroom. Erin Patterson admitting the supposed reason for the lunch, her cancer diagnosis, was untrue.
Have you ever had ovarian cancer?
No, I have not.
Have you ever had a needle biopsy on a lump on your elbow?
I've never had a needle biopsy anywhere.
Patterson also revealing that despite initially telling police she'd never foraged before, she actually picked all the mushrooms she could after developing a love of foraging in 2020.
It was a process over several months in the lead up to it. But when I got to a point where I was confident about what I thought they were, I cut a bit off one of the mushrooms, fried it up with some butter, ate it, and then saw what happened. They tasted good and I didn't get sick.
Telling the court she would often dry and preserve them.
Did you dehydrate mushrooms that you'd foraged?
I did.
Patterson saying she sometimes added mushrooms to meals she cooked for her children.
I chopped them up very, very small so they couldn't pick them out.
Questions then turning to the mushrooms used in the fatal lunch.
Do you accept that there must have been death cap mushrooms in it?
Yes, I do.
Do you remember where the mushrooms that went into that meal came from?
The vast majority came from the local Woolworths in Leongatha, and there were some from the grocer in Melbourne.
Patterson telling the court she'd bought mushrooms from the grocer before.
Sometimes the bags might say something like wild mushroom mix or forest mushroom.
Erin Patterson will take the stand again tomorrow. She's pleaded not guilty to all charges. Erin Pearson is the Age's crime and justice reporter. She was in the Morwell court yet again today. She's with us now. So, Erin Patterson today admitted there must have been death cap mushrooms in the meal that she served. But what did she say about how they got there?
That's right. Her defence barrister, Colin Mandy SC, turned to his client and said, do you accept, essentially, that there were death cap mushrooms in the meal that you served your lunch guests in July 2023? And Erin Patterson, who was seated in the witness box, replied yes. She was also taken through a little bit about different mushrooms that she may have purchased over the years and where they may have come from. She explained that the mushrooms that she put into that meal, she believed came from the Woolworths, her local Woolworths in Leongatha, and also an Asian grocery store in Melbourne. Now, she did say that she didn't really have a clear memory of that Asian grocery store in Melbourne, but she was able to take the jury through other things that she purchased and picked in terms of mushrooms. It was today that the jury heard that she had foraged for mushrooms, and many questions then followed about where and what sort that she'd picked.
So what did we learn about Erin Patterson's experience with mushroom foraging?
Yeah, the jury were taken through when she really started to get interested in mushrooms, and she explained that this was around the time of COVID lockdowns in that March, April of 2020 period. She said that she was foraging them at places including her local botanic gardens and a rail trail that was running nearby around that Leongatha Loch Korumburra area. She also remembered that she had picked some from the property that she lived in. Now, between 2020 and 2023, she moved between a number of properties, one being in Korumburra and one being in Leongatha, where she was ultimately arrested. She said that she picked mushrooms from both of these properties, largely field mushrooms, but as she became a little more confident and a little more researched in what she was picking, she started serving them up to herself. She remembered that she cut little bits off them and put them in some butter and tried them and recalled that they tasted really good. And as time went by, she then included them in meals for her children. She was also asked whether or not she may have foraged mushrooms ever from near an oak tree. And she said, while she didn't believe she picked them from under an oak tree, she believed that she may have picked some nearby at the Korumburra Gardens at some point.
Erin also admitted to the jury that she'd never had cancer, but what else did she say about her health concerns?
Yeah, that's right. As soon as the questions turned to what was going on in her personal life and her health concerns in the lead up to this fatal lunch, she was explaining that she did have a binge eating problem and these sorts of things she was having a really hard time with. She also had a number of other symptoms she said she believed was cancer, but she did turn to the jury and say, no, I never was diagnosed with cancer, and at no point did I have a biopsy in my arm as part of that testing procedure. She explained that she'd lost a number of family members members from cancer and really believed that she may be very ill. She explained that her young daughter had also had an ovary growth when she was younger, and that Erin Patterson herself had had an ovarian cyst. And these were the concerns that were going through her mind at the time. But she turned to the jury at the beginning of her evidence and said, no, I was never diagnosed with cancer.
Now, Erin Patterson spoke the entire day. So how was she during the testimony? How did she appear?
She was on the stand for a couple of hours today, being examined by her defence barrister, Colin Mandy, SC. And she started off answering the questions quite slowly, quite calmly. She would pause before a number of her answers. But when the questions turned to the birth of her son and how he was going at schooling and things like this as he grew older, and how they were sharing custody of that boy, she did start to appear quite teary. She was also a little bit teary when questions were asked about her relationship with Don and Gail Patterson, particularly after she separated from her husband Simon in 2015. At times, she could be seen holding back tears and was even using tissues to dab her eyes. When the afternoon questioning turned to mushrooms, though, the emotion disappeared.
Story continues tomorrow, of course. Erin Pearson, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.